We've seen a massive surge in Russian airplanes violating NATO airspace, pushing and testing the alliance to the limit, both politically and militarily. Russian MiG-31 fighters stormed into Estonian airspace for 12 minutes in a brazen stunt that put all of Europe on edge. They ignored warnings from Italian F-35 stealth jets that had been scrambled out of Estonia's Amari airbase to intercept them. Over in Romania, Russian attacks have breached their airspace, forcing NATO to scramble F-16s. And Poland has already shot down Russian drones, vowing to shoot down Russian aircraft if they cross the line again. The sun went right to the heart of the action on board the first RAF mission on NATO's eastern flank. We were there as two Typhoon jets, armed with air-to-air missiles, took part in a powerful 8-hour mission, backed by a Voyager air-to-air refuelling plane, Danish F-16s, French Rafales, German Eurofighters. The rotating aerial defence force is set to fly nightly missions. It is a message to Putin from the Allies: back off. So why would Putin make such risky and inflammatory moves? It's a classic decoy. He's deliberately trying to sap Western time, money and resources away from the real war in Ukraine, from protecting against it and from supporting the Ukrainians fighting it. While politicians are tied up in urgent crisis meetings, figuring out how to respond, and tied up in a dangerous game of chicken, Russia is free to grow stronger. This layer of war, the operational level, is about creating doubt and confusion. The Russians, as I said, have a doctrine, Maskirovka. It doesn't just work at the tactical level, it works at the operational level and works at the strategic level. It's about feeding the enemy false information and drawing attention away from the real threats until they make a fatal mistake that can cost them the war. In Britain, we've seen this closer to home. Salisbury, the UK chemical defence establishment at Portendown. Where does this come into deception? Well, we remember in 2018 the poisoning of Sergei and Yulia Skripal with the deadly nerve agent Novichok. Of course, they were chosen because they lived in Salisbury, because Vladimir Putin knew that as soon as the Russians got accused of this, he could turn around and say, no, it wasn't me. It escaped from the British chemical defence establishment at Portendown, just outside Salisbury. And of course, as soon as Theresa May, the Prime Minister, stood up in Parliament and said that she blamed the Russians, Vladimir Putin made a statement to say, no, it wasn't me. It escaped from Portendown. And it had the effect. The leader of the opposition at the time, Jeremy Corbyn, stood up in Parliament the next day and asked the Prime Minister a question as to whether she could prove it hadn't escaped from there. My vision when that happened was Vladimir Putin sitting behind his very large oak desk in Moscow with a big glass of best Russian vodka in a best Russian crystal tumbler, with a big white cat on his knee, going, my job is done for me. I have created the doubt I needed to do.